first one is how to contact all the undecideds, because they are important, find their tipping point. The second one is when are we going to get to the real issues that matter to Scottish people, such as starving children in food banks and disenfranchised and marginalised people and minorities, and all the stuff that we really care about rather than just about money. And why aren't more people...
Unions.
Yeah, exactly. Why aren't more people in the Labour movement and long-time Labour voters out campaigning and voting for yes? Yes. So, Pat, do you want to go first?
Well,
and then I'll go the other way.
Okay.
To you first.
Well, in terms of the tipping point, I think it very much depends on the individuals. You've given your story about a question to Nicola Sturgeon. I think if I consider the different people that I've swayed during the course of the debate, and if I start off with a crowd of heavy political people from the trade union movement who were ex-Labour, staunch Labour people, communists, etc. Maybe about 8 of us are still go to the football together. When it started off, it was only me that supported independence. There's only one now that doesn't, or it hasn't changed. We've still got 2 months to work on it. And the season starts soon. It wasn't just me, of course, that changed them. I'm only saying that before and after games, or on the phone to each other, or whenever we were meeting, gradually you could see things knitting together. Now, there wasn't just one thing with them, it was a number of issues that came together, which you would contrast with when I was canvassing around here. I was telling you earlier, 3 doors in a row, it was young mothers whose main concern was childcare. And talking about the Scottish Government's proposals for the future of Scotland and an independent Scotland, and how they put childcare to the fore, that was a real useful tool to be able to discuss with those women in the doorstep. And I was glad I had read it before I went out, because it was, and I was encouraging everybody to read those childcare proposals. So that was hopefully will persuade some of them. And the other, not the other, as if I've only got one other crowd, but another crowd of people that I know down in the pub, or one of the pubs, they I didn't go to the pub a lot. They gradually come around, and it's mainly, I think, the economy that swung them. So it's trying to convince them that, you know, they're not going to be running their pound, or they're not going to be bankrupt. They're going to be, by and large, at least as well off now as they were after as they are now. So that sort of reassures people once you give them the facts and figures to back that up. So, you know, it's different groups of people have different tipping points, I would say. In terms of getting away from just the money and talking about other things, I think I try to talk about other things other than the economy as much as I can, about our values. To me, that's the important thing. It's the redistribution of wealth, as far as I'm concerned. That's what really makes us different from others. Socialists and social democrats are different from others in the way we would argue for the redistribution of wealth, and what our priorities would be in that. And I wouldn't go past any meeting or discussion group without saying something along those lines.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's the redistribution of wealth, as opposed to the I'll be better off, you'll be better off, or you'll be poorer. Yeah, and both sides are doing it. Sorry. And
finally, if I just say that as a former full-time trade union official, I was telling you that the SDUC had been at the forefront of the campaign to establish a Scottish Parliament, and I think that's recognised by everyone how important the input of the trade unions were in that case. In this case, it's not been so easy, and I can understand the difficulty of some of the unions, because we've got the Labour Party, those that are affiliated to the Labour Party breathing down their necks. In the case of my own union, which is not affiliated to the Labour Party, the PCS, they probably had a more extensive discussion than any other union. Branches were encouraged to have speakers, and when it came to the votes, it was, Heather might correct me if I'm wrong, but it was something along the lines of 13,000 were to adopt a neutral position, 5,000 were to vote yes, and the no campaign got no votes. So it's difficult then for the union to go out and campaign and do anything. There's groups within each union.
I didn't mean the union, by the way. I understand the problem about a UK national union. What I was really trying to get at was, aren't there lots of people, union members in Scotland? You're mentioning someone who feel like you feel.
A lot of your union members aren't campaigning for
there are groups within the unions who are campaigning, and I think, come the crunch, that probably there'll be a higher proportion of trade unionists will vote for independence than the population in general.
Thank you very much.
Tipping points. Well, tipping points are different. I do a lot of street work, so I do a lot of stalls in towns and engage with people, because that's the best way I feel to try and get the information out there. My advice to everyone that comes up that hasn't really looked into independence or isn't interested in politics and wants to know what's it about, by the way, which is what I get a lot. And I just say to them that the best thing for them to do is to look at their own environments and to pick up information from everybody. And I don't say just pick it up from me, pick it up from Better Together too, get as much as you can and read everything. Don't just read that information you've got there. Please don't watch the telly because you'll only get one side. But read everything you possibly can. And if you have the internet and you're able to get on, then please go on and look and try and find out things for yourself. Make you get interested within it, and then you'll find what you feel is best. Now, I've had quite a few people, because I've been doing this from the very beginning, have came back to me and said, I met you at the very beginning and you told me to read, and I've read, and I'm a yes, and thank goodness you told me, because I didn't realise there was so much behind it. And so I've got to say that generally getting out there on the streets is the best thing for you to do. Getting out there and speaking to people is very important, because a lot of people don't have access to social media. As well as social media is an excellent tool, my mum couldn't work social media because she's got Alzheimer's. So, I mean, my mum's got half dementia, Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, but she gets Alzheimer's and whatever the hardening of the arteries is. She still has quite a lot of faculties. She's still a Labour lady. She's enough of her faculties to realise that she wants to vote yes. So, and she's not by any means needing to be dealt with and taken aside and said, you don't know what you're talking about. I've got to say, people need to think for their own selves, and everybody's tipping point is different. Mine was when food banks started becoming bigger and bigger, and that to me, watching children starving and watching people starving is a joke in a country that has enough money to deal with that situation, and that's the UK I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Scotland here, I'm talking about the UK. That should never have happened, and whoever started this thing, Cameron, should be jailed. I really do agree with Debs. Iceland have the best way of dealing with it. You caused this in my people, you go and deal with it. Economy, I'm not the best at that because I'm probably not very clever. Yeah, I don't kind of go near it anyway, as you probably told in my speech. As for Elizabeth II, yes, she will be Elizabeth I, so yeah, but then I do actually think that she'll not have long for the coins to get printed before we're on the next one, because I reckon it's coming up, so, and I reckon it's going straight to William. That's my point of view on that one. Anyway, I'm not a big...
Don't listen entirely.
It's a whole new debate. The trade unionists, obviously I'm right out there because I'm in amongst them all the time, and I need to quit because I get on and Deb goes nuts at me. Trade unionists are swaying. They are turning, and I've seen it because obviously I've been against for quite a while, and that's quite a thing. At the very beginning that was a woof, how dare you, but now it's becoming more of a normality, and they are swaying and they are turning, and they're understanding that the only way to get what the trade unions need, which is the anti-trade union legislation repealed, is to start with a written constitution which will put it in it that they won't do it again to us. So, I mean, there's a lot of people realising these things are happening, so they're not stupid, and they are doing it. They just might not be as vocal as we are, because obviously they have friends in places where, and they have to keep positions, and it's difficult. It's a whole new political background in there in the trade union, so yes, be positive on it, because there's a whole load of them. There's a whole load of them there.
Silently, yes.
Yeah.
Tommy, is there anything you want to add to?
Yeah, I want to make a couple of
Definitely.
I think first of all the tipping point. I mean, I tell you, I mean, my experience is similar to Pat's. I have, you know, a lot of friends. Maybe I just mix with a certain type of people in a little bubble or whatever. But you know, I see friends of mine, not all of them, but a lot of whom were no, and now they're yes, and they've been on a journey, basically. And they're still on that journey. And to me, it seems to be a one-way journey. I mean, I'm just, like I say, I may associate with the wrong people, but I know lots of people who say, I used to be no, I never thought I would say this, but I've actually come round to voting yes. Okay? I have not yet met anyone I know who says, I used to be yes, but I've thought about it and I've now come round to voting yes. So it's a one-way process. And all of our experience in this campaign shows that if we can engage people in discussion, get them thinking about it, get them beyond the slogans and the tribal fears that many of them have, then they open up to it and they will eventually get there. I mean, people are not stupid, so it's a matter of having that conversation. So the tipping point's different for everybody else. I mean, I don't know if any of you are involved in the campaign, but when we're knocking on the doorstep, we ask people not just if they're voting yes or no, we say, where would you put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? And what we need to do, and we're collecting this information, is to go back to the people that say, well, I'm undecided, but I'm leaning towards this. I'd score myself at a 6 or a 7, but not all the way there. That's the date. We have been collecting the addresses and emails of literally several 100,000 of those people. And that, if we can organise to go back to them and do the final persuasion and then get them to turn out, that organisational capability is going to make a very significant contribution to the end result. And I say that because we've got the capacity to do that, and frankly the other side do not. They do not have the soldiers on the ground to be able to try and organise that. So we have got the activists, and we should use it. On the money thing, I mean, I think there is a strong economic case for independence, but it does bore me, to be honest, as does the case against it. And I think we need to raise our sights above, you know, whether you'd be £500 better off or worse off. At the same time, we do need to counter the people who say, oh, we can't afford it, and coming back to the question raised over there. And the way I put it is this, that, you know, we're talking about a country in the north west of Europe that's got a population of 5.5 million people, well educated, entirely literate, a country that has got a highly developed social and physical infrastructure, a country that is rich in natural resources and has two of the world's most important commodities, fresh clean water and renewable energy, in abundance. If Scotland can't be independent, what country on earth can be independent? I mean, you know, you might as well argue that nobody. So I think we just simply can dismiss it as that and then get round to the real argument, is that we would be the 14th richest country on the globe if we were independent. I mean, at the minute we're part of the 18th richest country in the globe, so we're right at the top. The question is not, do we live in a rich country? We do. The question is, how are those spoils shared? How is that wealth shared? And you're quite right, sir. The people, your neighbours in Newtown probably should vote no, because it's probably not in their best interest at the end of the day. Most of the super rich in Scotland are voting no. I mean, apart from the people who have the good grace to be embarrassed about their good fortune, or whatever, want to give something back. And a few canny business people who can see the possible opportunities for enterprise in an independent Scotland. But with those exceptions, the vast majority of the rich are voting no. What we need to make sure is that the vast majority of the poor vote yes, and demonstrate that it is in their interests. And I think, you know, that's beginning to happen. It comes to the thing about trade unions. I would say that already we're at the tipping point with trade union activists. I would say most trade union activists in Scotland are declared for yes now. Yeah. Their general secretaries and their leaderships won't, because of all of the problems that, you know, that Pat's described. But what's noticeable in this campaign is not just what people say, it's sometimes what people don't say. This had been 5 or 10 years ago. The STUC would have been campaigning with better together, and they're not doing that now, and I think that's a significant change, that effectively those London-based trade unions are playing a neutral role in the campaign, and their actives on the ground are beginning increasingly to play a role of being in support. So, yeah, I think we can get to them, and I think we are doing.
Right, I get to have the chair's privilege of pontificating for just a few seconds, and then we'll move on to final questions, which I'm going to ask come from ladies only. Now, what I'd like to say is I do not want to live in a country that demonises immigrants, that demonises the poor, that demonises single mothers, the sick and the disabled, that says that because you can't work, we're going to cap your benefits, you shouldn't have too many children, you shouldn't try and, populate your country in any way whatsoever. You should just sit there quietly and feel ashamed of the fact that you can't get a job when there are clearly not enough jobs for the people that need them. I am tired of living in a country where young men who were ill and could not make an appointment because they were in hospital having a diabetic crisis were told, you didn't make an appointment, we're sanctioning you for 3 months. No, we don't want to see your doctor's letter, we don't want to see the letter from the hospital, we don't care. I'm sick of living in a country which says, because you've come to this country just new, you are of less value than anybody else. When anyone who looks at the figures can clearly see that immigrants make a net contribution. They are less likely to make use of NHS services, they are less likely to claim benefits, and they make a net contribution to the country. We need to expand the population. We do not need to contract it by closing the borders. We need a country that looks at issues of social justice and looks at issues of poverty and actually deals with them instead of sticking a band-aid over it. We need investment in infrastructure, investment in house building, investment in manufacturing, and we need to support people when things aren't good, because it's meant to be hard, it's not meant to be too easy, we're not meant to sit on our backsides and do nothing, but it is not meant to be this hard. This is wrong. So we will move on to the final question.